In 2025, America is filled with so many different people, each one with unique intersections of identity. How does being deaf intersect with being part of a hearing majority world? How do accessibility barriers shape the way marginalized communities navigate spaces? How do we create inclusive communities when the systems around us aren't built for everyone? Critical Mass is a show about people, identity, and the human need to connect. Today, Jovan sits down with Derek and Emily, a deaf-hearing couple whose content has gone viral for documenting the reality of navigating disability access in a world that simply doesn't care. From viral concert moments to battling venues over legally required ADA accommodations, Derek and Emily have transformed their lived experience into a call for action. In this conversation, we explore the gaps between what the law says and what actually happens, how disability shapes intimacy and partnership, and what two creators are doing to build more accessible futures. This is Critical Mass with Jovan Bradley.
Derek and Emily, welcome on to the show. Thank you guys for joining us and being here.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I want to let people know where they can find you guys online. Derek, you run the page The Signing D. Emily, I know your handles are Golden Sunflower Rising. Can you tell me a little bit about what you guys do? What your little niche on the internet is? Things like that.
Yeah, so she is Golden Sunflowers Inside.
Oh, did I say it wrong? Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna go back. No, we gotta go back now. Damn. I looked at it and said, I got it. And then I didn't have it. Blooper reel. It's okay. This is why we don't do it live. Because if we did it live, I would have embarrassed myself.
That is fine.
So I say again, welcome. Derek, your handles are at The Signing D. Emily, your handles are at Golden Sunflower Inside. Nailed it. First try. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what you do, how you came to be about because you're, from what I've seen, especially Derek, your channel has quite a few followers and subscribers. So why don't you tell us and our audience, people who may not have experienced you guys before, what it is you do?
Yeah, so we are a deaf hearing couple. We've been together for about 8 years now. And a few years ago, we've always been going to a lot of concerts. And a few years ago, we had an experience where we couldn't get access. It was a show that I was very, very familiar with. So I ended up, the band contacted me after we saw them open in another place the day before, saying, hey, are you going to go to the show? We kind of explained our story. They're like, if you interpret the show, we'll give you VIP. I was like, cool. I'm in, and interpreted the show. At that point, I had zero social media at all, and
not at all.
Nothing.
No Facebook, no Instagram, nothing at all.
And the show was great. They kept shining a spotlight on me in one of the bigger theaters here in Orlando. And afterwards, there were just so many videos and posts of, hey, where is that ASL guy online? Where can we find him? And she forced me to make an Instagram. And just
smart decision.
How I know, just kind of like.
So now we post a lot of silly little videos talking about everything that happens in our little corner of the world as a deaf hearing couple, and all of the things that hearing people might see that is different, or a lot of the things that are parallel with everybody else's lives, just in a little bit of a different communication method.
Yeah. What we'll get into the larger of you guys' story, because there's a lot of interesting things that has happened to you guys since you starting this journey. But what have you both found has been sort of for anybody who doesn't know, right? What is it like navigating, especially for you, Emily, navigating a social media presence while deaf, navigating that together with both of you as a signing couple? What is that like?
I'm to think about that, but I'm not very good at being on the spot for questions. I know.
I will say
we're working on.
One thing that you're great at is that we both get 99.999% positive comments, and we get a lot of positive comments. But I have the lizard brain of just like falling down into the negative comments. I'll see one negative comment that says, "You signed that one sign 4 videos back wrong, so you actually don't know sign language." And then I'll just lay down in bed for like the next 2 weeks, months, and just be like, maybe I don't know sign. And I'm like explaining it to her, like, I don't think I know sign language. She's like, been married to me for a while now, communicate in sign, but she's my biggest like protector online. So she's like the
Like every time I see a comment, I'm just kind of like, I just write it out and just be like, okay, here's why you're wrong, and
like, yeah, I'm the manly, you know, the mask, the testosterone of the, but also help me.
You know, you need that in a relationship. You need the person that's willing to send the food back. Because I'm not the person who's willing to send the food back. I'm going to eat this burnt chicken because you put it in front of me.
Right. Yeah. But yeah,
Let's start at the thing that will lead us into the larger conversation of ADA accommodations. Tell me about the venue and what happened in what you guys experienced. And if I have my facts correct, it was here in Orlando, correct?
Yeah, so the we had that one experience where I jumped up and interpreted with a band that I was familiar with, and the band asked me. The one I think you're speaking about was a different time where it was a concert she wanted to go and see here in Orlando, and I wasn't as familiar. I wasn't comfortable interpreting.
And that venue we had never really experienced before, like you did.
I did when I was like growing up, going to college here, but
And I'm still like new-ish to Orlando, so I didn't know, and I wanted to like experience it for myself for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I reached out to them about maybe like 2 months before the show itself, and they told me that they didn't provide an interpreter. So I would need to provide one myself, and they would just comp the tickets. So basically, just wanted me to buy 2 tickets, get the interpreter, and they would pay me back for the other ticket. And I was like, that's not how that works. But I'm happy to guide you through the whole process because I know several different areas, people that I can get in touch with for you. And I never heard back. And I sent email after email after email, like once every week or 2 weeks until the show. And I was just like, do I show up? Do I go? Or do I just stay home? And I was like, well, if I don't show up, they're going to think that's okay to do. So we decided to go ahead and show up. And we got there and had to talk to the person that I emailed with. And they're like, oh no, we don't have anything. I'll be right back. Came back, told me that I needed to lip read the band.
Lip read the bands.
And we were just kind of like, that's not gonna work. Yeah. So, we came here and we met with the person that I had been in contact with, and they gave me a couple of options. They were like, we can try to get this done, print a link to Google Direct, or print out things, or you could stand up close to the front and lip read the band. And I'm like, that's not gonna work if they're not walking around the stage, right?
With the microphone, lip reading the bands doesn't really work that great.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
So
we left.
Yeah, they said we'll just give you your money back. They gave us most of our money back. We didn't get our fees back. It was only like $4, but I'm very grumpy about that to this day. But I'm just naturally
it's the principle of it.
It's the principle, yes, or principle, PLE, not PAL. Anyway, but that was really our first time having a company just be straight up. Nope.
No.
Yep. And is swearing okay here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I used to swear a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Just needed to make sure for you. But yeah, it was our first experience having a company that was like just straight up, yeah, we don't do that. And when we provided all of the documents that say, well, you kind of have to do that, they just ignored it.
Right.
And so what did you guys do? So you're now having dealt with this, you get home. What is the first thing you decide? Okay, we need to take action on this.
Now, it took us a little bit to actually decide on what to do because we were just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, how do we go from here? Especially because, like, we go to concerts a lot, like, probably 1 or 2 every month. So, we're like, I don't want to, like, completely dismiss them. So, we wrote an email to them after and just, like, explain our disappointment and just like, hey, this was not the right way to go about it, but just letting you know. And then,
We made, so after that email was ignored, we made like 1 or 2 Instagram videos, and one of them blew up.
yeah,
And we did mention the name of the place, and we never asked people to review, but people went in and reviewed that place, which we're not huge fans of, but then we had people sending us comments on, it was like a Google Help thing from their marketing person that was announcing that we all kind of like resolved this in private when they still hadn't replied to us. So I was like, that's not cool. Don't like tell everyone that, oh yeah, they're fine now, because that was just a straight up lie.
right.
So after that, we started researching what the next steps would be.
So the next step for that was to go through the Board Commission of Human Relations.
Well, before that was, we looked at the ADA and how that is set up.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to do an actual ADA complaint. So I got on the phone and called the DOJ, the Department of Justice that controls the ADA. And I just said, hey, we're clueless. Like, we don't know what we do to like actually enforce our rights. Do I have a case? And when I explained it, the specialist on the phone said, absolutely, you have a case. Like, you need to just submit all of what you told me, and yeah, you have a case. So I did that and submitted it, and I got an email back 3 days later saying, hello, this is the DOJ. Thank you for submitting. You probably have a case, but we don't have the resources to look at everything. So,
Which, like, I get because right now there are other pages that have higher priorities than entertainment, but it still sucks,
it
right?
sucks. Yeah, it's like,
Um,
do your rights exist if they're not enforced?
yeah.
So, yeah.
But after that, we did more research, and I found that through the states, they had the option of going through the Board Commission of Human Relations. So I started the appeal process with that. And I think that probably took about like 3 months, 4 months, just kind of like tiny back and forth and everything. And then it took them about another 4 months to actually make a decision. And they said no. They said they didn't see any reasonable cause. And I'm like, okay. So they said I could file an appeal. So I did. That's where that really ended up wrapping up with.
Yeah, when we went into court. We tried to mediate at first, but that venue didn't want to mediate. They wanted to bring in lawyers into the picture, something that we couldn't afford. And
like, we reached out to everyone we knew. We reached out to all the local law firms. We reached out to the Dorothy Rights organization, legal organization, or these nonprofits. I think I probably reached out to at least 20 or 30 altogether. And they were like, you have a case, but we can't help you.
one of the big reasons there is, I can't remember the exact date. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 years ago. There was a person that went around to all of the different gas pumps in Florida and complained that they weren't captioned, like the advertisements, and sued all of the different gas stations. So there was a law that was passed after that saying, okay, for all of your like entertainment for anything that is not work or housing related ADA, you cannot get financial damages back, which means that lawyers don't want to take our case or any case like that now because there's no chance for a big paycheck.
Right.
So it becomes really tough and very, very expensive.
Right.
And I think that businesses know that. And now it's just cheaper to, well,
yeah.
do you want an
Well,
interpreter?
and you
Sucks.
like you said before, like how do your rights even get validated if nobody will stick up for you and defend those rights?
Right.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Like we have compared the ADA often to like a pit bull without teeth.
Yep.
Like it looks big and posy, it has all these rules and policies, but there's nothing actually enforcing them.
Yeah. And the scary thing is that when we went online and talked about this, again, like most of the comments were positive, but during that, we had so many negative comments too. A lot of, that is so stupid that a deaf person wants to go out to a concert. And we've done so much work explaining like how that works. And we can dive into that quickly here too, because a lot of people don't know why would a deaf person go to a music event. So we had a lot of that. We had a lot of people just calling us grifters or whatever, despite we never asked for any money.
No.
And this is the only time we've actually like tried to pursue, having our rights actually enforced.
And the one thing that we really specifically asked when we went through the whole process was for that venue to change their policies, retrain all of their staff on ADA rights and how to interact with disabled people, because we got people with various other disabilities say, hey, yeah, they suck and we don't go there either because they're not good for people with other types of disabilities.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, and I think when you touch on that, it's so true. You see this all the time when people go online and people who are disabled, whether they have a physical disability, an invisible disability, a developmental disability, what they hear back so often is, well, you just shouldn't go to this place if this place has this issue. This one aspect of life that everybody else can enjoy, you just shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you look not that far back to Chicago, there was a series of laws that were called the Ugly Laws that were set up to prevent people that made, able-bodied people feel more comfortable not needing to see disabled people in public. And I've always wondered to myself, how could anyone vote for that until we started our kind of journey and talking online? Then I'm like, oh, there's a lot of people. There are a lot of people that you go to work with, you go to school with, that you ride public transit. Well, not in Orlando because we don't have that, but that your peers with that truly believe that people like her should not be out in public. And I'm like, she's disabled. She's not like a werewolf. She can go out at night. It's fine.
Tell us to get off onto the tangent just so we can squash, because they're rushing to the comments right now if they're watching. Tell people, explain how somebody who's deaf enjoys a concert. I'm sure some people have no idea because a lot of it is bred from that ignorance of just, well, I don't have to deal with this, so why would I look into this?
Well, there's a lot of different ways that people can, most people that I know that enjoy music tend to have, or listen to, bass heavy music. They just feel the vibration and everything. But for me personally, I wear my cochlear implant, and when I'm at home or in the car, I'll stream it to my processors and then just put on, a music app. But here we'll put on YouTube videos with lyrics or our I don't want to say it. That's just it's stupid.
Our smart home device will have the lyrics.
Yeah.
But with Emily specifically, every deaf person is different. They have different levels of hearing. From it's very, very uncommon for somebody to have a flatline 0 hearing, but Emily's one of those weird deaf people that has well, you're not a weird deaf, you're a weird person that's also deaf. Anyway, that had zero hearing.
I appreciate the clarity on that.
But when she has her cochlear implants on, she can hear rhythm and kind of like tone, but the speech recognition isn't all there.
No.
It's improved over the years, but we don't sit down and have full conversations in English with me, like, masking up my mouth. That would be pretty close to impossible.
Right.
So that's where the interpreter comes in. So we'll have the interpreter that's interpreting the lyrics, it's interpreting whatever, chat and banter is happening on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like going to the concerts because it's always fun. It's always fun, like, dancing around people, meeting them, and such interactive.
All the same reasons everyone else does. Yeah.
Good.
Do you mosh? I need to know if you mosh.
Oh, yeah. So,
Will's Pub.
yeah, I think I only did it like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, I'm not gonna, because last time my processor almost blew off, and I'm like, I do not want to get that thumped on by it. The better, that's my thing.
Yeah. But I still remember we had a few punk friends out there, and their jean vests and everything. They saw her going into the pit, and she had an entourage of punk protectors that were just like, we're going to make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah.
I just imagine Emily in the pit just elbowing just everybody. Just
Oh, yeah?
And she is 6 feet tall. I mean, she is a terrifying woman. When she joined the pit, I left.
So you guys go to try to get this ADA situation handled. You're getting no real help on the ground. What do you then decide to do?
That's when Emily decided, when they said, okay, the next step is court, and we couldn't afford the lawyer.
Right.
She spent hundreds of hours over the next few months researching and getting ready to do everything herself. So,
it was just more like, I know that when you use the term court, everyone thinks it's just like a multiple-day process and everything, but it was really an administrative hearing.
Yeah.
And it was just 1 day. But we started at 9 that morning, did not leave until like 5:30. Like, we spent the entire day going back and forth. But yeah, I had everything. I had all of the roles, and they've already been catered. Every research question, and we had to bring witnesses and to do like a court job. Yeah.
Examine.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a lot, and that whole process, that hearing, their lawyer was so rude, so just mean, trying to get under her skin, under my skin, trying to say these awful things like, Derek, if you learned that she didn't have her cochlear implants on before a concert, would you turn around and force her? And I'm just like, no, I don't force my wife to be hearing, or not be hearing, but like, they were saying all of these just things that made your skin kind of crawl. Kept asking, how is she understanding us talking right now when we clearly had interpreters in the Zoom call? Yeah, but that was the next step there.
Yeah.
So you did the whole process over Zoom, or just the interpreters were on Zoom?
On Zoom.
All of us. Yeah, it was all of us were on Zoom. We were in different rooms.
Yeah.
Because I was just a witness. I wasn't doing the
They
case
had
myself.
actually thought that you were the one that was getting the whole thing, so they were surprised. But I was like, no, he's not part of this. He's just a witness. I'm running the whole thing on my own.
Yep.
So,
it was,
and this was like you said earlier, this was around 2023 is when you guys actually had the hearing.
I think it was the next year.
Okay.
It took
18 months from the concert itself, no, from like asking for the interpreter for the concert itself up until the actual, so it was about 18 months altogether.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep, 18 months, a lot of, I mean, even though we couldn't afford the interpreter, there were a lot of costs that were associated with that. We bought the full, like, the court transcript. We have a copy of that back there in a notebook. We've been meaning to, like, read it again, but it's just, like, very, very, what's the word in English? Like, impactful, like, just overwhelming. Just so much work went into that, and a lot of blood, sweat, and literal tears into that, only for it to fail. And for, like, this is gonna sound like hyperbolic or hyperbolic, but, like, all of that work for evil to win, and it wasn't like evil, but just like it hurts.
Yeah. Walk us through, hearing the decision, how you guys felt, what, like, happened there.
So I think, like, from the hearing itself, I just remember in the morning I was really shaky, like, and the decision, right? But I was actually away on a work trip when the decision arrived, and I got the email, and I forwarded it to him, and I was like, I can't open it. I can't. I don't want to know. And then he read it, and then video called me, and he was like, so I read it, and then I told my bosses that I was like, I need to leave for like an hour. And I literally spent the whole time walking around outside, just,
Well, and so what did they say? Because I'm sure everybody listening and everybody watching is going, how could they give you a decision unfavorably after everything that you guys went through? So what was their reasoning for the decision?
Well, the reasoning for it was that they couldn't really 100% disprove that it was a undue burden on the venue itself, that the costs for the interpreters for them offset the costs for everything. Like, they said that while from, like, my side and things, they couldn't really, like, show that they couldn't afford it, everything. And I was just kind of like...
And, like, they said that if they hired the interpreter, that it would have put them in the red for that night. So my argument against that, which, means not a lot now, is two things. One, the nature of the undue burden is based on a company's total holdings, not just the company itself, but any umbrella corporations too. And this is a smaller venue. I mean, they're medium-sized, but owned by a larger venue that's next door.
And not just the umbrella, but like the company too, all of that.
And then,
like,
the other thing that was, that was frustrating is that 3 or 4 months later, somebody else requested an interpreter. They said we were the first people to ever request an interpreter. 4 months later, somebody else requested an interpreter. While they were getting all of the feedback online from our video, they posted a video of them with the interpreter on their social media for clout.
So I think there was 2 reasons for that. One was to show it off on social media to make themselves look better, and the second was to use that to be like, hey, this is how expensive an interpreter was.
Yeah.
So you guys don't think they learned at all and when we need to make these accommodations? Yeah.
No. It was just like, oh, we need to stave off some of the negativity we're getting online. Let's hire an interpreter and let's show it off on our social media. Well, and they did this while actively in that hearing, like, against us, while writing papers against us. So, yeah.
Obviously this is a larger issue that stems from, looking at other aspects of life besides work, besides education, these other things that people have needs and drives for. being able to actually enjoy those aspects of life. Have you since this seen these types of challenges in any other major aspects of seeking out entertainment or seeking out fun, things like that?
It's a lot of work every time, even for the successful times that we get, entertainment accessibility. But one thing that I've seen over the years is in the theme parks. Like, we have our annual passes. I remember growing up, you would see the sign and they would have all the shows. And one of the times on the show would have this little symbol that looks like two hands in an OK shape, reversed. And it's, oh, that's the interpreted one. Well, now that's not a thing. Now, if you want an interpreter, you need to schedule it 2 weeks in advance, and you need to know exactly what park and what shows you want to see. And for people that are spontaneous and live here, it's kind of impossible.
Right.
When we went to Disney with some of our deaf friends, Disney only has interpreters on specific days at specific parks.
Right.
So you have to schedule your entire vacation around when the interpreter's there.
Right. And our friends had decided, they were coming for a while, but they had just decided 3 days before that they were gonna go to the park, and we were like, okay, let's just see what we can do. And they're like, oh yeah, 2 weeks in advance. And I'm like, I get that works for people from out of state, people who spend all of their money planning out every little detail of every Disney park, but it doesn't work for people like us.
Yeah, we are lucky, we're uniquely privileged that I can just be deployed much like a Pokemon as a pocket interpreter. So when needed for, basic, simple things like a Disney show or, a pre-ride video or whatever, I can just easily jump in and interpret that. But there's a giant difference between that and interpreting an entire concert.
Right.
Yeah. And so for a lot of people who don't know, Disney has been under a lot of flack for a lot of changes they've made in terms of accommodations over the last year to 2 years. I used to go to the parks pretty regularly. I'm also a annual pass holder. Rest in peace. Maybe won't renew. But for people who are watching, who are, I guess, new, who have not seen me on the internet for all the time I have been, I have autism, and part of that is sensory overload can happen very easily, especially at a place like a theme park. So I relied for a long time on Disney's disability pass, so that way, I can limit the amount of exposure to the sensory things and actually function. And Disney made a massive overhaul to the disability pass and basically said, everyone who does not have a developmental disability, we are going to remove this pass from you. So mobility users who might have been using it, I know a lot of people who had POTS, people who have diabetes, people where waiting in a traditional line is hard, especially if the line is longer, they've lost access to the pass. And even those of us with autism, if we are able to function even a little bit, they go, well, we can't give you the pass. We have other accommodations, which are much harder to plan around. This is what you can do. And so there's been a lot of flack on things like that, especially in dealing with the fact that Disney then, I think it was a week or two after announcing the change of their DAS, went, oh yeah, and now you can pay all of this money for this new version of the Lightning Lanes and these premier passes that we now can sell you at an upcharge. And the line for those, which was the same line that you used if you used the disability pass, is magically has less people in it. So it's more worth it to spend that money. And we see this, we see this all over the place. So what do you guys think about these changes that these major corporations are making, and making it just so much more difficult for Americans with disabilities to actually engage in life in the same way that people who may not have those disabilities get to engage?
So one thing I will say to that, it's what I was kind of talking about earlier with the person that was suing with gas pumps, and it ruined all further suits for deaf people going forward. I saw the same thing happen with Disney when Disney was getting their criticism and feedback about this. They blamed, well, there's a lot of people online that will sell these fake Disney tours. They'll have one person in an ECV, I can't fingerspell.
ECV?
Thank you.
Yeah.
An ECV or a wheelchair, and then they'll lead a group and they'll have that DAS, that disability pass, and people will pay this able-bodied person to do a skip the lines tour. So Disney said, okay, we need to stop that, and made all of these changes.
Yeah, and it just penetrates the people that actually have
Use-
disabilities instead of like building a system where that can't be taken advantage of.
Right. So able-bodied people took advantage of this, and then Disney said, okay, you know what we need to do? We need to shut down the disabled. Like, it's awful.
Yeah, and I know I had seen there were a lot of people, there was a lot of talk on TikTok of like these Disney vloggers who a lot of people said don't seem to need the pass, but somehow had the pass anyway. Like I said, I've used the pass in the past, and I found it very helpful and helped limit the amount of times that I would have a sensory overload in the parks. Now I just go to the parks a lot less. I avoid the rides as much as possible because if I don't have money to pay for the lightning lanes now, it's like I can't sit in the traditional queue for as long. I'll have a breakdown, and then you're not getting, and no one's getting through because I'm going to have a shutdown in the middle of the line and nobody's moving anywhere. But it's so interesting that their response was, instead of moving to a system, for those who don't know, Universal also has this same sort of setup, but Universal is just like, bring us a doctor's note. Bring us a doctor's note saying you need the accommodations and they're yours. Disney decided, no, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to work with another company that they're going to make the determination. So we just don't have no liability because we're not technically the ones determining anything. And this other company, we're not going to tell you what their guidelines are to determine. It just feels like people with disabilities get punished. So that way people who are able-bodied get to, I guess, enjoy more of paying money for Disney to ride rides.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
I would say with Universal, I know they did change their policy a while back. Like, you have to prove that you're disabled. Like, you have to go through like a whole phone call interview process. But from what I understand, the people on the other side of the phone are just like fresh people who don't know anything about disability, about accommodation things.
I just want to clarify, she said fresh and not French people.
Oh, yeah, fresh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
yeah, and it's difficult. It's I personally, I think the way to do it was the way Disney was doing it before. You walked up to somebody in the parks who was at guest experiences. You said, "Hey, I have this disability that makes it hard for me to do this." And yes, there will be some people who abuse that system, but the way you fix that system is not punishing the people who need it.
Right. Yeah, and I had that conversation. I've helped with like a local anime convention, and we had that conversation about disability seating, and somebody, raised their hand and said, well, what about the people that take advantage of that and don't need it? And all of us were just like, okay, so what do we do? Like, do we just shut down all of it and the disabled people don't get a place to have their wheelchairs? And then everyone was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, you just need to understand that people will take advantage. It sucks. You can try and stop that on a case-by-case basis, but completely destroying the system,
Right.
it's cutting off your nose to spite your face for the did not mean to elbow the cat, but yeah.
So moving back to, you guys get the decision, you sit with that, obviously. How has going through that process, how has that shaped how you not so much how you see, but how you navigate these things going forward?
So one thing is it motivated me to go back to school. So I am going back to do legal studies to become like a disability advocate, that kind of thing. But the other thing too is it just really made me realize that the legal system needs to be more accessible to everyone, not just disabled people, but everyone, just because it's so like formal and complicated with the jargon and terminology and everything. And for people who don't have the same access to education that others do, how are you expected to know your own rights? How are you expected to know what you can and can't do? Because I will say, like, I didn't know I could get interpreters for concerts until like 10 years ago. So,
Yeah, and like just kind of touching on what you said, we didn't know how to engage with the system at all. And we're like, uh, she is a brilliant I'm not a smart man, but she is a brilliant person. And even, being that brilliant, when it came to, okay, now we need to engage with this system and figure out what our rights are, no one has, even now, we've made uh, a lot of videos about accessibility, and every once in a while in my videos, I'll post a question. When exactly do you think that we have the right to an interpreter? And no one can give us a clear answer. No one. So how are we supposed to, actively enforce our rights when no one knows exactly where that line is drawn?
What do you, touching on that, like, what do you think is, at least in your experience, the best resource? Was it reaching out to the ADA specifically? Was it doing your own research? Like, what seems to be, if somebody does have this problem like you guys, what would you recommend to them be their first step?
well, we had a whole thing with up until a few months ago. Like our main recommendation would be to reach out to either the DOJ or your state chapter of the DOJ
Or the CIL?
or the Center of Independent Living in your state. But now with the current administration and shutting down the Department of Justice, shutting down the Office of Civil Rights, all that, we're still kind of figuring out the best way to navigate that and the best way to advocate. But for now, we've kind of not settled, but just set on being outspoken about it. Like, just say, these are what rights are by law, go and do it. But if it doesn't work the way you want, you can't do anything after the fact.
But we've also set up a lot of conversations on our platforms where we'll say, if you have any of these roadblocks, or have any questions at all, regarding accessibility, just message us. If you reach out to us, we've helped probably about a dozen people in the last year get access to concerts. We had somebody that had a deaf kid trying to see, I think it was like a Bluey. Is that a thing?
Maybe Daniel take something.
Something, but a show, and they were told no. And then I was like, give me the phone number, I'll call. And so we've had a little bit of success with that, just trying to advocate for people. But we're two people. We haven't found the way to change the system as much as we want to. Right. It's so much work. And
it doesn't really help that now a lot of the organizations that are focused on these rights are now becoming smaller, less resources, less ability to really enforce that.
But we can become louder and louder, which is very easy for me living with a deaf person, and just be more and more, outspoken and, come on and chat with you and get that message out there. Like, hey, even just going all the way back to the beginning and explaining, how does a deaf person enjoy a concert, so that there's less ignorance there. There's less like, oh, well, that's stupid. What are you doing? You're just a grifter. It's been helping a lot.
Like one thing that I need to think a lot of is it's now, thanks to social media, the internet, everything, all of these things are becoming more and more exposed, they're more open. So, and I mean, I know that when I go out and public go to like the grocery store, McDonald's, whatever, I might be the only deaf person that they've encountered in their entire life.
Do you guys feel, I don't want to phrase it like, do you feel worse about the system? But obviously you know where these challenges are. Do you think there is like easy solutions? Do you think it's something that no one's quite yet figured out? Okay, this is what needs to be done, or this is what needs to be done.
I think that the solutions are already there. So there's actually a tax credit that I can't remember the exact number, but like if you're making under a certain amount of money as an entertainment venue for any accessibility, disability related improvements, including hiring an interpreter for one night or website improvements or whatever, you get that money back at the end of the year. Like no strings attached. It's there. Just a lot of businesses don't know about that and don't want to put in the work to do that. So the solution's already built in. It's just educating businesses.
It's just a matter of like educating people, just exposing them to more of it, and just more exposure and so.
And that's why, like, you know, not just us, but seeing all of the other, like, there's been so many deaf and hard of hearing content creators out there just kind of, you know, telling their story. That's been important. Seeing more and more deaf related things in media in general, like HBO has interpreted movies now. I think that all helps, you know, expose the world to, oh, this is not just one little niche thing. Like we're out there.
Yeah, I think like one of the biggest problems that I need the, and it's completely understandable, is like people who are within the community, they get so exhausted, so burnt out, and just living their lives, plus educated, plus interactive, that it's just easy to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna step back, I'm just gonna.
As we are getting closer to kind of the end of our talk for today, I was hoping that we could talk about some things, you know, that are just, you know, maybe off topic, just anything you guys wanted to chat about. Seems like you guys, because you're local to Orlando, we've got a lot in common that we can probably chat about, but I might chime in, but this is mostly you guys back to the normal conversation.
Cool.
What do you mean? There's nothing cool that happens in Orlando. Where am I gonna go?
They were just talking about
SeaWorld?
Will's Pub. That's one of my favorite music venues.
What is?
Will's Pub.
What is that?
It's like a punk venue, kind of. It's all sorts of music, but it's a bar, kind of a dive bar type.
You got to remember, I'm not from here originally. I go to Disney.
Well, see,
and Disney. That's it.
You guys have to teach Jovan about the music venues here.
Yeah.
Any suggestions for him? Hey, where should he try?
Oh man. If you like Disney, House of Blues is great. The House of Blues venue there.
The one in Springs?
In Springs, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the one in Springs.
That one is an interesting progress with accessibility, actually.
Like we were we went to a concert like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. And the first time we requested an interpreter, they told us, yeah, we got it, we'll go ahead. And we show up, and they give us the ADA wheelchair section all the way in the back. Like they dusted it off for us all the way in the back, and the interpreter was all the way in the front.
On the stage.
But I'm just saying.
No way.
You can't see that.
And not just that, right?
You want
Not just that, but they're not providing an interpreter for the opening band, just for the main band.
So I think there were two
There were two
openers,
openers.
and there was no interpreter.
So
So we're like,
they
hey.
told us they had an interpreter. What's up? What's going on? I don't know what's happening.
And the manager approaches me and says, oh, yeah, well, we looked into it and it was very expensive. So we decided to just get the interpreter for one of the bands. I said, cool. Do you mind just shutting down the wheelchair ramp until the main band goes on? And then he just saw his eyes lit up. He went, oh, okay, that'll never happen again.
Okay, I have a perfect question. The perfect question. Have you ridden Flight of Passage?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Great ride. Phenomenal 6-7 minutes. Have you had to interpret that one?
No. God, yeah.
I want to know if someone is interpreting that one. My question is, do they interpret it? Do they like, because what you see a lot of the times when you see people interpreting, they get into the things they're interpreting and they emote and they do all of this, as Derek, as you are doing here now. I want to know if somebody is interpreting that as poorly acted as the man on that screen, because it is the worst pre-show I've ever had the displeasure of sitting through.
Okay, yeah, I've done the pre-show, yes, and I have interpreted it perfectly. Like, I will interpret every mispronunciation, every little bleh. But I do have a story about Disney interpreting.
Okay. No. I was thinking of like a show, whatever, but go on.
Well, are we live again? Like, is this something, because this might be relevant to
if we're like right now, as we're just gabbing, it may just be extra Patreon content. We tend to just throw fun little gab on the Patreon for people.
Oh, let me grab Corgi, who's barking. Hey, cut that out. But so, I just closed your. Oh, you got it. Okay, cool. So we
She knows how to open it herself anyway.
So Disney, when it comes to captions, they have a device that you go into guest services and you pay them like a $20 hold or whatever, just so you don't steal it at the end of the day. And so we've tried that a few times and they have never worked. Like, they're always either delayed a minute or fast a minute. So we went on to, we sign Rise of the Resistance. So it's Rise of the Resistance, but we just sign it like Resist Rising. And we went in there, we tried it with the captions, and they were just so awful and missed so much that it was not like intelligible. So we come back in and we're just like, hey, the captions don't work. Is it possible for me to sit in the front, her to sit in the back, and then me just kind of interpret and just ride again? They were like, oh yeah, you guys are getting your own vehicle. And we did the whole ride with me just sitting and interpreting like that. It was awesome. It was so cool.
That sounds kind of cool. Not gonna lie. Not gonna. Can we do that again? Can we? I have an annual pass. I love Rise of Resistance.
Let's join up. Let's do it. We'll just say he's deaf too. He's gonna sit back there and we'll. Yeah.
I've always, I have a friend who they teach ASL in college. Like, that's their job, is they teach ASL. And I've always thought, like, it's probably best that we people learn this. I mean, I know very limited signs, like 3 or 4 from working with students with disabilities. So I know just the bare minimum, how to tell them to go to the bathroom, how to ask them if they want more food, like the bare minimum. But it really would be like.
So wait, you just said that your mom is actually deaf. You're fluent in sign, and you want to do the rest of this conversation with her without me?
Yeah, actually, yeah. No, because if I do the signs, it'll look like I'm throwing gang signs, and we don't need. I don't need the police busting down the door for me right now. I think we need to avoid that. But it is, it would be, why do we? I understand it. We teach certain languages in school. I shouldn't be able to take French though as an elective over ASL, right? I just feel like ASL would be a bit more useful for us than a language like French.
I agree 100%. Just because of my extreme hatred of no. I do wish that it was more out there. But I will also say that until I took my sign classes, I don't remember like encountering a single deaf person in my life. Now I see them a lot more because
Well,
I live with.
and like the deaf community, it's small. Like, it's not just the grade and separation, it's like two. So,
But
um,
But it is nice when we are out in public and people know even just a little bit. Like every once in a while, somebody will sign back, thank you. And that's always awesome. Well, it's awesome when they sign thank you. It's not as much when they're like, oh, thank you. And that's really signing to us, oh, go fuck yourself. We know what they mean, but just,
Wait, have I been doing thank you wrong my entire life? Wait, you show me thank you. Show me thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do this.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. Because if I'm like streaming,
right.
if I'm streaming and I'm mid sentence and I see someone like will like subscribe or something, I sign thank you just so I don't break my stride talking. And I'm sitting here like I've been telling people to go fuck themselves this whole time.
No, you're good.
I will say, like, when we go out and we interact with people who know sign, I'm always very appreciative of it. And that's one thing that most people tend to, like, apologize for not knowing more or whatever. And I just kind of want to be like, you sign better than probably about 98% of my own family. But I don't want to say that to them.
Yeah. Which is another giant issue in the deaf world is that most parents of deaf kids don't sign. They never learn sign. And
that's pretty challenging, I would assume.
Yeah. And it can be a little awkward for like handsome husbands of deaf women, like myself, when, a parent, like, I'm just going to do a hypothetical out here because I don't want to name any names, but like just assuming if somebody's mother didn't know any sign and then you have to start interpreting for their own mom, it's very awkward when you're a handsome, humble partner of a deaf person.
Well, so is Emily what led you to learn to sign, or did you know to sign before you guys even met?
I already knew. I was in college and I needed a language for my degree, and I really wanted to take Japanese. Japanese, and the classes were full. So I looked at what was open. ASL 1 was open. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Then I just needed one more year, so I did my ASL 2. And two things. One, the professor was deaf, and I love like trial by fire. So 1/3 of the class.
That's why you married me.
Yes. 1/3 of the class dropped out after the first day because we had an interpreter, and the professor announced, oh, this is the last class with the interpreter. Going forward, everything is voice off and sign only. So 1/3 of the class dropped. I was like, I love this. And then also I was the only guy in the class and I was single. And I was like, I also love this. So I learned sign for that. And then after college, I graduated. I was like, okay, cool. Never going to use this language again. Bye. And then this woman shows up in my DMs and I'm like, well, time
I think it was the other way around.
Did I? Oh, I did jump in your DMs first.
You did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was the fuck boy. And now a whole new group of who wearing the sign for fuck boy.
You're gonna have to accept that and then just put it on your
If you have content that doesn't touch on the sign, that does touch on the sign, whatever. How, like, I know Derek, you incorporate into your comedy.
Right.
Emily, how do you incorporate it into the content you make?
So it's funny because I actually do all of my own personal content in chat sign, and then I do my own voiceover over that. But a lot of my content is just more like motivational phrases, but with a lot of swearing. And then I'm getting ready to shift into like tabletop role-playing games because I want that to be more accessible for the community, for the disabled community as a whole. Mm-hmm. So that's one project I'm working on right now.
For any D&D nerds that are out there, I do want to say that she has a brilliant way of incorporating sign into tabletop role-playing games. It's that the thieves can't language in her worlds are always sign, because when you're stealing, you have to be quiet. So she does a basic sign language. So if you're hit with like a silent spell or whatever, if everyone still knows thieves can't, they can still communicate.
Yep.
I think it's just brilliant.
Now, I have tried D&D multiple times, and every time I get bored.
Me too. So I like interpreting.
If he gets bored, so he doesn't interpret it. He have so much more fun interpreting it.
So
I'm just like,
Yep.
let's see what kind of bullshit we're gonna do today.
Yep.
Yeah, I've given it so many goes, and my friends are like, "You just need to find that right DM." I'm like, guys, this bores me. I don't like this. I don't like waiting 20 minutes to do two things.
Yep.
So there's another tabletop role-playing game that just came out that was developed by the people who did Critical Role, and it's called Dagger Heart. But one thing I like is that they actually made sure to incorporate disabilities in that. So they have like mechanics for wheelchairs and other accessible devices and everything. Isn't it cool?
Okay, I mean that sounds
Nerd.
a lot better to me. So real, just so that we can let people know again, can you guys just let people know where to find you online? Anything you're currently working on? Any causes you're currently supporting? Things like that.
Yeah, we can find Emily over here at Golden Sunflowers Inside.
Yeah.
That's on all major platforms.
I am mostly active on Instagram, so if you wanted to reach out to me directly, it's better to DM me there. But I'm still like, I've been kind of putting it off, honestly, but I'm planning on doing more a foundational setup and everything to change things by the end of November, by the end of the year, just to kind of get everything ready for 2026. Because one of the things I'm trying to set up here is in the Indian group, but only in sign language. So I'm working with a local game shop to set that up for monthly sessions, run the campaign and all of that. So
And you can find me. You can find me at the Signing D, where I just talk about honestly random bullshit. But this corgi here makes herself known a lot. She was on World News Tonight, the Today Show, Australia,
famous dog.
Good Morning America. So this is the famous girl.
So the dog is the famous one.
The dog is the famous one. I'm just here. Yeah. Oh God, stop that.
Well, I want to thank you guys both for talking with us today. Thank you for sharing your story and what you guys have gone through. It was a absolute pleasure.
Pleasure was all over here. I cannot wait for all three of us to go to Disney.
I need new park friends. So like, I'm serious. I'll go. Literally, I'll go spontaneously. If you just text me on a Wednesday and you're like, "Hey man, you want to go to the parks with us?" I'll be like, "Absolutely, let's go to the parks."
That's him?
Yeah, reach out to me after. Let's exchange some contact information and let's make it happen.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Thank you guys again so much for joining us. And thank you all for listening to this episode of Critical Mass.